Hey folks, and welcome in to TK Power Sports. This is the 2025 Can-Am Outlander 1000R XT-P, and it is the most powerful production ATV ever built, and I want to tell you all about it. So in this video, we're going to do an in-depth walk around, really dive into the features, and then near the end, we'll have a pretty important discussion, which is this too much power? Let's dive into it right now. Let's start by hitting some of the important numbers. So this unit comes in with a length at 88.4 inches, a width at 48.5 inches, and an overall height at 49 inches. The wheelbase measures 52.8 inches, while Can-Am says it gets 12 inches of ground clearance. Now, fuel capacity here is 5.1 gallons, that's 19.5 liters. And finally, the estimated dry weight on this ATV is 975 pounds. Just before we dive into more details, I want you to just look at this ATV because I think it looks sharp. This is all new styling for 2025. And when you're putting something out there that is the most powerful ATV, well, I think it better look cool as well. And to my eyes, Can-Am absolutely pulled it off. I really like what they're doing with the lights on the front and the back. And then the color scheme here on this XT-P is cool as well with the orange accents. But of course, this is all subjective. So why don't you just drop in the comments right now and let me know, what do you think about the way this new ATV looks? As I mentioned, this is the XT-P, so this is the model you're going to buy if you want outright performance, the most fun model in the lineup, the most aggressive riding model. That's going to be this XT-P, and the feature set really matches that, and there's so many features that are built into this package. So first of all, you're going to notice the front and rear bumpers. They really stick out. We're getting this nice light bar right up here in the front, and it's nice to get stuff like this from the factory because it's so well integrated. You don't have to worry about drilling holes or installing it yourself. Down below, you're going to notice a nice worn winch right there, 3,500 pounds, so always handy to have the winch. And the other thing I'll point out is these excellent recovery points right up here in the front. These things are really exposed, nice and big, easy to get to, and that's always important if you're out there getting stuck. Now, let's talk suspension, because as I mentioned, that is a big part of this package and a big part of the equation making this machine so fun. So up here in the front, 10.8 inches of suspension travel. In the rear, 12 inches, yes, 1 foot of suspension travel, which is pretty incredible for an ATV. Now, we are getting arched A-arms all the way around, so, bring the middle of that machine up a little bit more, give it more ground clearance and more areas. And then Fox QS3 shocks, that is quick switch 3, and that means there's 3 different settings on each one of these shocks, so you can dial in that shock damping exactly how you like it. And the suspension is something we're going to talk about a lot more in the full review, and that's not this video. We're actually going to go for a ride in a different video and really hit the trail with this thing, so make sure you come back for that to see how it actually works. Now, before I move from the front, I have to talk about this front rack. These all new plastic racks have been installed here. They have hookups for different Can-Am accessories, which is handy, but easily the neatest feature is right there. This front storage bin, it's even got a little prop, so you can just leave that open, and you can store all kinds of stuff in there. I think this is such a smart idea. There's also a ton of accessories that are designed to work with this cutout, so if you do get storage bins, or even the fuel caddies, they can sit down in this depression, so Can-Am is really using this space rather cleverly. And I should tell you that the overall rack capacity on the front here is 120 pounds. Now, as you roll back, you're going to notice the XT-P gets these cool hand guards. That is part of the package, and 14-inch bead lock wheels. So that's a true bead lock. If you want to air down, take it out in the sand or the mud, you can do that, which is handy as well. We'll talk a little bit more about the cockpit in just a moment. Let's roll around to the back here, and the big boy up here, which you can't help but miss. This is a huge storage bin. Really nice to have, really big and deep. And again, this rear rack has that same recess as the front. This actually sort of sits down in there, so you're getting all this space, plus they give you this extra little bin, which sits up top. There is, nice rubber gaskets which run all the way around this thing to help seal it up so you're not getting dust and water and stuff like that in there. Yeah, what can I say? I think this is a really nice design. It's all based off of the Link system, which Can-Am uses, and you know what, again, it's absolutely solid back here, and that's what you want from your accessories. So nice to have the big storage box. We'll see how it affects the ride, but yeah, handy to have it. Now, looking at the rear end, we can mention towing. We do get the full 2-inch hitch receiver right there. Maximum tongue weight on it is 183 pounds, and that's because maximum towing on this ATV is 1,830 pounds, and that's something else that I want to put to the test when we do the review. Now let's talk features here from the seated position, and the first thing I want to point out is just sort of how big this ATV feels, but also how roomy it is. Like when I stand up, the footwell feels massive. I have tons of space in here to actually put my boot, you know, further forward or further back, depending on where I want to ride. I feel like some ATVs, yeah, the footwells can feel a little cramped. This thing feels quite big, and because I'm a big guy, yeah, I feel super comfortable sitting on here. So let's talk about some of the features up here on my handlebars. Over here on the right, you have your four-wheel drive settings, and this does have the selectable front locker, the Visco 4 lock, so I can set that up right over here on my bars, and you can lock up your front diff. Up above it is the ITC. That is for your different modes, so you have work mode, sport mode, and then just the standard mode, so that's nice. And then behind, back here on the back of the handlebar, is the IEB, which is intelligent engine braking. So if you're coming down a big hill, and let's say you have a trailer on, you can turn that up to max, and you're gonna get a maximum amount of engine braking to help you control the load. So nice to have that. The other thing I gotta point out is this thing is now throttle by wire. There's no throttle cable hooked up to this thumb, and it just feels so light. It takes a little bit of getting used to when you first get on, because if you've driven an ATV for many years that had a cable hooked up, your thumb throttle was way heavier. This thing is so light, and therefore just easy to push. So yeah, you gotta kind of get used to that. Over here on the left, very standard, all my lights. There's my kill switch. There's my winch control, nicely integrated into the handlebars. I like to see that. And then of course, your start button right there. Now the handlebars themselves, you can see, sort of borrowed from the mountain bike world, we have these different markings on here to tell you exactly what angle your bars are at. And if you want to angle them a little forward or a little backwards, you can do that. And now you can know exactly where that angle is. So that's kind of neat too. And that's something I've never seen on other ATVs. So I think that's a first from Can-Am. And another thing I noticed about these bars, they're just really stiff. They really don't have much give to them. And we'll talk more about that too when we actually go for a ride. Now, the other things I got to mention is the screen, of course. So that is a 7-inch screen in front of me. There is a nicer touchscreen you can get on the Outlander, but that only comes on the Ultimate or the Limited model. That's not here on the XT-P. Still, this is sort of your necessary gauge. It's giving you all the information that you need. And yeah, it's nice and sharp looking. There is a little bit of storage here. This is very specifically for your phone. So you can take your phone, you can hook it up. It's getting power, and it sits in there really nicely. But yeah, it's not that big. You're not fitting much else in there, but perfect for the phone, which is nice, and everybody has a phone on them these days, right? The other thing I'll mention has to do with the shifter over here. This is something Can-Am made a big deal about, and I'll start it up for this. Previously, the Outlander, the shifter could get really sticky, especially if you were sitting on a hill and there was some weight on the transmission. Sometimes it just wouldn't want to shift. So Can-Am spent a lot of time making the shifter super smooth, and I'm just gonna do some shifts right here while sitting here, and it goes exactly where you want it to go. It doesn't feel like there's any weight on it or anything necessary for me that's sort of different to get it to shift. And again, that's something Can-Am made a really big deal out of, and there, it's in gear. So yeah, I think they did a really nice job with that shifter, just getting rid of that sort of sticky feeling that the previous model could have. Now we have to get to the power. So the engine in this Can-Am is a 999cc V-twin. It's making 101 horsepower and 69 pound-feet of torque. And as I said off the top, that means this is the most powerful production ATV that has ever existed. Now we're gonna show you how it works in my ride review, but right now I just want to tackle the topic, is that too much power, and how much is too much? Basically, we have to look at Can-Am and Polaris when we're talking about this, because these two brands just keep one-upping each other. Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha, they've long given up on trying to chase this horsepower war, but Can-Am and Polaris are both right there. So in fact, I'm sure somewhere right now there's a Polaris engineer working on a brand new ATV that makes at least 102 horsepower, because that's how these companies work. But yeah, is over 100 horsepower too much? it's a tough decision, or it's a tough conversation to have, because I think for a lot of customers, they're always looking for the ultimate. They always want more, and these brands are delivering. But I can tell you from experience, this thing can bite you super quickly. Just because there's so much power there, the speed picks up so quickly, you get yourself into a lot of dangerous situations fast. So I would say there's no clear-cut answer here. For me, is it too much power? Probably not, but it is definitely too much power for someone who's never been on an ATV before. This is not an ATV that I would ever recommend to a beginner or a new buyer, because it really does take some experience to control a beast like this. But I want to put this out to you guys because I'm curious as to your thoughts. Do you want more power? Do you want to see the horsepower wars continue in ATVs? Or do you think we've already reached sort of a ridiculous point? Why don't you drop in the comments? You know my thoughts now. Let me know your thoughts. Well, folks, we've come to the end of this one. I do have to leave you with pricing, though, because as the most powerful ATV ever, you know this thing isn't going to come cheap. So in the United States, this XT-P as it sits is going to sell for about $16,500. Here in Canada, you're talking about a little over $20,000. So yeah, that's it for this one. If you have more questions, please let me know down there in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And then make sure you come back here to TK Power Sports for the full ride review, where we're gonna sink this thing in the mud and see how it actually handles out there on the trail. But yeah, that is it for now. So please go down there, leave me that comment. While you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to TK Power Sports to see what we're testing next. See ya.